Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Comic Chameleon coming at you with another Ask Reddit thread. Who was the dumbest person you ever met, and how did you know? Let's jump right in. My former boss was worried that the island of Manhattan would sink with all the extra visitors for New Year's and the ball dropping. She thought islands floated, and when she found out that wasn't true, she thought it was so funny that she told everyone the story. She was later fired for withholding a pay raise from someone on her team because he didn't accept her sexual advances. He had the text to prove it. I was working retail at the time, and this lady walks in and asks me to tell her when it is 10 a.m. She needs to catch a bus. We were slow, so I obliged. 10:15 a.m. rolls around, and I tell her, so she drops her stuff and runs out to get the bus. 5 minutes later, she comes back in scowling, and she then lectures me on how to tell time. How much is a quarter? 25 cents. So why would you tell me a quarter after 10 a.m. is 10:15 a.m.? It's 10:25 a.m. I asked a temp at work to weigh a couple of lever arch files for postage. She came back and told me they were 65 kilograms. I asked if it were possible that it was 6.5 kilograms, but she insisted it wasn't. We argued about it for a good 5 minutes. It wasn't until I asked her how much she weighed, 59 kilograms, that it finally twigged that these two small folders couldn't possibly weigh more than her. One time my now ex-girlfriend was watching Maury Povich, one of those paternity test episodes with the classic "you are not the father" moment, and she turns to me and says, "If we ever have a baby and I found out I'm not the mother, I'll kill you." Thankfully, we didn't end up reproducing. A few years ago in Australia, Coke changed their bottle to be a bit narrower and taller to use less plastic. Both bottles were 600 milliliters. Girl in my class at uni adamant that the change wasn't to reduce plastic, but so they could put less Coke in to save money. I know they're both 600 mil, but the new one has less Coke in it. I had a boss who told me that she never kept leftovers from a meal because that's how polio got started. He had just purchased a new high-powered BB gun. We had just finished shooting it in the backyard when he points the barrel at my face and pulls the trigger several times. I tell him to stop being an idiot, and he just laughs and says, "It's not loaded." Then the moron puts the barrel in his mouth and pop! Shoots a BB right through his tongue and into his uvula. This dude I worked with for 3 days. He was hired to be a fabricator, which is mostly cutting metal and welding stuff up. He claimed to have welded for many years, which we very quickly realized was an embellishment. Within his first 2 days, he got into a heated verbal argument with a coworker that advised him to not smoke cigarettes in the shop right next to multiple tanks of incredibly flammable gases. Told our manager to F off and let him do his job. Manager was trying to tell him what to do. Started a decently large fire because he didn't clean the floor underneath where he was welding, and then started yelling at people trying to tell him there's a fire. Smoking blunts on the job with no attempts to be discreet. By some miracle, he managed to ruin a welder and 2 grinders beyond repair. And on top of all this, he had this smug, "I'm better than everyone else" attitude. He was promptly fired on the 3rd day and had the audacity to argue with management about it before storming out and flooring it out of the parking lot, running down the shop's mailbox. A month after all this, we were contacted by a customer about their dump truck that he had done the welding on. While on a job site emptying the contents of its dump bed, the welds broke and the entire dump bed fell off, causing damage to the truck and another vehicle of theirs. Had to be upwards of $75,000 in damages. A girl in my class in middle school genuinely thought people had landed on the sun. Her explanation for this belief was to insist that the moon and sun are made of the same stuff. I remember a guy I knew in middle school who put money into a vending machine and then his item didn't come out. Then he put more money into the machine and 2 of the item he wanted came out. He then exclaimed, "All right, 2 for 1. A girl in my sophomore year of high school who thought there were 6 months in a year. She was really nice, but very surprised and confused when we tried to set her right. My wife wanted to meet an old friend from school she hadn't seen for about 20 years. We went to dinner and he brought his wife, who he met 2 months ago, who was a male entertainer, and her 2 kids. He was white, she was black, and he spent the whole night trying to start crap with people for making racist comments about their relationship behind their back. They weren't. When we finally got into talking, he told me about 9 jump points that exist to get off the Earth. I thought to myself, oh boy, a flat earther. I've never met a real one before. But no, that's not what he was talking about. They would have been so much better than what he was talking about. He said there are 9 jump points on Earth that are essentially wormholes to other planets, and that there is one in New York City that goes to Mars, and that the American government has already colonized Mars and is hiding it from the people, and he was dead serious. White girl didn't think she could get pregnant because the guy was Mexican. Swear on my life. Half of my science class thought that the International Space Station was just some building on the ground. Ah yes, the International Land Station. A friend of mine is a sweet guy but is overweight and balding and quite frankly not very attractive in the face. Well, one day he lets us know that he has met a girl and she might be the one. He's in his late 20s for reference. Well, I've met some of the jewels he's hooked up with in the past, so I wasn't expecting too much. Finally meet this girl, and she is drop dead gorgeous and has a body that is incredible. I talked to her for a while and she is super friendly and outgoing. I'm stoked for my boy. He found the best he's ever going to find. Anyway, the night progresses and the new couple starts talking about their plans for an upcoming trip to New Mexico, and she starts telling us how excited she is because she has never gone to another country before. I laughed a bit and realized she was dead serious. My friend just looked at me and shook his head, and I knew that he knew that she was dumb as an effing rock, but she was his dumb effing rock. For what it's worth, he helped her get her passport. A girl in my art class in high school thought there was just a part of the cow called meat. When we explained meat is the muscles, she freaked out and became vegetarian. A girl in AP US history class laughed at me when I was talking about driving to Alaska from Oregon. She insisted Alaska was an island because of how it is separated out on maps. I don't know if she was the dumbest person I met overall, but it was certainly the dumbest thing someone insisted they were right about. I know a guy who thinks the special tea he drinks negates the negative health effects of his pack-a-day smoking habit. I have geography in 3rd period and this kid thinks there's 2 Floridas. They thought dinosaurs were fictional. Was working at a grocery store over a decade ago. I wouldn't call the kid dumb because he just didn't know. It's more of a funny thing. He was new and the manager asked him to face the store when he asked what he could do. Facing means you make sure the aisles look nice and neat and that the product is pulled forward and visibly facing you as you walk down the aisle. The kid couldn't be found until someone told the manager one of the workers was just standing in the parking lot facing the store. I will never forget that. We hired a girl a couple years ago. I told her where the manager's office was her first day. Second day she asked me where the manager's office was, so I walked her to the door. Third day she asked me where it is again. Our manager chewed out the girl who trained our new recruit for not teaching the job properly. The trainer pulled out her phone and showed the manager a picture of the girl wearing the uniform backwards and said, "Look at this. This is untrainable." New girl got fired about 3 weeks later for stealing the product because she thought she got it for free because she was an employee. I had a guy at work tell me that Benjamin Franklin was the 100th president because he's on the $100 bill. I remember proofreading a paper for a freshman my roommate had the hots for. It was on Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, but somehow this freshman didn't catch that it was a satire. The opening lines of the paper are burned in my memory. Eating children would not be a good thing to do. In fact, we could say it would be bad. I know a guy who vaped mercury on a dare. My first ever girlfriend thought you had to study for an STD test. She was really pretty. A friend of mine still thinks cancer is made up by Big Pharma. I live in southern Spain. I once met a girl from the US who was here on some kind of exchange program. When I asked her how did she like Spain so far, she said, "I'm loving it. I just don't know why the plane took so long to get here. I mean, we're just below Mexico. I don't know why the flight was so long." Then I told her that we were in Europe, and she didn't believe me. Her reply was, "Europe? It can't be. Everyone speaks Spanish, so we must be somewhere near Mexico for sure." She was in uni. I still don't know how or why. Well, I don't have a whole lot to say after that one. I'm just gonna put this hat on and cover up my blonde hair and move on. This is Rob from Karma Comic Chameleon saying thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like and share the video with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.